Now, video game villains usually keep some really powerful weapons and skills up their sleeve to ensure their fight with you will be engaging and memorable. Their incredible powers make sense from a gameplay perspective, but sometimes after having to take on their deadly lasers, earth-shattering sound waves, and weapons of legends, you kind of wish you were able to play with them yourself. Well, luckily, there are some games out there that let you do just that, and that's what we're here to talk about today. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 video games that let you steal your enemy's powers. Number 10, Apoca Fist, Saints Row the Third. Now, gang wars were a big deal in the Saints Row series, well, until it gets to fighting aliens and devils, that is. Each of the original 3 games features a gallery of uniquely themed gangs that the Saints need to defeat in order to drive them out of the city, but Saints Row the Third pushes the concept even further by not only letting you claim their territory as your own, but also getting their weapons and powers too. Whenever you defeat the bosses of the 3 gang factions in Steelport, you gain access to their headquarters, their members, and finally, their weapons. And these unlocks aren't just aesthetic, as the new weapons come with their own mechanics and stats, giving you new abilities to use in your crusade throughout the city. Defeating the leader of the Deckers, for example, gives you access to his gang's neon swords, and bringing down Bane, the leader of the Luchadors, even lets you steal his signature move, the Apoca Fist, which immediately explodes the people you punch into a million bloody pieces. This system makes progressing through the game an absolute joy and ensures that you always have something new and fun to play with. Number 9, a pink vacuum of power, Kirby Forgotten Land. Now, Kirby is one of the most famous and adorable talent thieves in the entire world. His primary ability to absorb the powers of the enemies he swallows has been a staple of the Kirby series since Kirby's Dream Land back in 1992, and it's only evolved and refined itself throughout the years. From the original powers of classic Kirby enemies like Waddle Dees and Meta Knight to the mouthful mode in the recently published Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and even the forms he can take on in Smash Bros, you can truly get lost trying to wrap your head around the sheer volumes of power that he's got at his disposal. No matter which Kirby game you play though, you can rest assured that you'll have plenty of enemies to choose from. Anything that appears on your screen is another opportunity to discover Kirby's limitless potential, which is a big part of why the franchise has managed to stay so successful throughout the years. After all, who doesn't love watching a cute little pink ball swallow innocent creatures to consume their life force and wreak havoc on their homeland? Just don't think about it too much. Number 8, an adorable skinwalker, Mabel and the Wood. Mabel and the Wood is a 2019 Metroidvania game where one of the key mechanics is the ability to take the form of the monsters you defeat. The titular Mabel is a young girl who tries to save the world by interpreting an ancient prophecy that states her shape-shifting abilities will be the key to preventing the end. Now, stealing your enemy's forms is completely optional, and depending on what you think about the prophecy, it could actually seem detrimental to your quest. However, the mechanic is done exceptionally well, and even if you are suspicious of whether it's really the right thing to do, the fact that the shapes you take add so much to your limited mobility with things like flying and hurling yourself at enemies still want to make you experiment with it. Each form is incredibly satisfying to use, which, when combined with the fact that gaining them is as easy as killing your opponents, makes for a rather pleasant and entertaining experience. Not to mention, even in the monster form, your character still looks incredibly cute, and you know what? That's what really counts. Number 7, win a race and steal a car, Need for Speed Most Wanted. In Need for Speed Most Wanted, what you drive is who you are. And no, it's not just because you never get to see the person behind the steering wheel. And the most brutal thing you can do in this game is to take your opponent's prized car, which is why the boss fights with the game's 15 blacklist races always end up with the loser giving up their ride. The game's titular Most Wanted all possess unique car builds around the particular type of race that they're known for, and when you manage to defeat them, the car is then added to your garage, or car hole, with all of its custom jobs and upgrades included. Because of this, every time you manage to beat a boss, you feel like you've actually mastered their field of expertise. Not only did you beat them at their own game, you also unlock a vehicle they specifically built for those types of races. By the time you reach the final boss, you already have a full car dealership in your garage, or car hole, and the means to beat your rival in any kind of challenge they throw at you. Well, so long as it's car related. An illegal bike race or underground chess tournament still might not be in your favour. Number 6, Devilish Possession, Midboss. Now, Midboss is a 2017 turn-based roguelike in which you play as an imp with the ability to possess the bodies of the enemies you kill. As you'd expect from a standard dungeon crawler, Midboss features a wide range of enemies to steal powers from, each with a specific mechanic that you can use and combine with other stealable abilities to create powerful combos or just simply have a laugh. There are over 60 abilities for you to learn, and how you use them is entirely up to you. You can try and use your stolen skills to defeat stronger enemies and become progressively more powerful, or you can learn how to use your weaker powers together to turn them into something equally deadly. The game is built with experimentation in mind, so what you do is entirely up to you. But the one thing you can absolutely be certain of is that no matter what you do, your little imp friend will have to kill a lot of creatures to get all the powers he needs. Number 5. Blue Mage, Final Fantasy XI. The Final Fantasy series offers a wide selection of classes and characters that range from your typical JRPG DPS tank and healer archetypes to more outlandish concepts like the Blue Mage. A reoccurring class type within the franchise, the Blue Mage possesses the unique ability to learn the powers and skills of any creature they defeat. The best example of this is the Blue Mage from Final Fantasy XI, who can absorb and learn the moves, affinities, and spells of pretty much every enemy they enter combat with. This means that the Blue Mage can potentially learn over 100 different abilities, including damage and healing spells that are additionally attuned to the specific type of enemy they've defeated, giving them an advantage against creatures that are vulnerable to that specific attunement. This class can be a bit hard to master, but once you get the hold of it, being able to summon rabbit kicks, scorpion claws, and even the magical abilities of spell-casting units is a ton of fun. After all, what other mage can boast that they can summon the literal kicking power of a rabbit that they've just defeated? Number 4. Body Stealer, Biomorph. If you're looking for the newest take on the power stealing formula, Biomorph is as fresh as it comes. Releasing on the 5th of April this year, this title's gameplay is built around the mechanic of becoming the creature you kill and has a free extended demo that gives you about an hour or so to play with this idea. Thanks to its Metroidvania style of gameplay, the forms you can take on from fallen enemies don't only make for a great addition to combat, but can also help you navigate the map. Each creature you kill has its own moveset for both combat and traversal, letting you complete each level in whatever way you want. And to make things more interesting, each time you kill a certain type of creature, its friends become more powerful, which of course means better and more powerful forms for you to then steal. Just the extended demo is already worth your time, so if the gimmick of you are what you kill piques your interest, be sure to check this one out. Number 3. Get Weapon, Mega Man. Along with Kirby, Mega Man is one of the oldest gaming series to utilize power stealing as one of its core mechanics. Starting with the original Mega Man for the NES, the games have always featured a roster of bosses with individual gimmicks and powers that Mega Man could then learn after defeating them. Each power that Mega Man takes from his enemies has unique mechanics and damage types that other bosses are either resistant to or vulnerable to. And because of this, unlocking new powers doesn't just let you have fun with a new weapon, it also impacts how you progress throughout the rest of the game. You can choose to follow the chain of vulnerabilities, going after bosses based on what powers you think they're weak against, or make things more challenging and try to defeat bosses that are resistant to your stolen abilities. The first 3 games especially are a great example of this complex game of rock, paper, scissors that makes Mega Man's progression system feel so free and open-ended. You get to choose which power Mega Man can gain first, and the only thing standing between you and that weapon is one of Dr. Wily's unfortunate goons. Number 2. Godlike Weapons, God of War. Kratos' revenge in the original God of War plays much more like an arcade experience compared to its modern counterpart. The game is more focused on Kratos taking out the entire Greek pantheon one by one, completing levels and engaging in boss fights. And due to this formula, defeating each of the hostile gods feels more like a milestone, especially since after you defeat them, Kratos gets to usurp their powers. Now, most of the time, after you gruesomely murder one of the Olympians, Kratos can pick up their weapon and make use of it in future encounters. From their elemental powers to weapons and enchanted gear, each successfully slain god imbues Kratos with new abilities that play a big role in the story. But more importantly, they also let you have more fun as you can hack and slash your way through the armies of monsters and Olympian soldiers wielding the powers of Hades, Poseidon, Helios, and Zeus alike. With that kind of arsenal, you kind of have to wonder why Kratos couldn't just call himself the god of, well, everything. Well, never mind, maybe God of War does have a better ring to it after all. And number 1, Conduit of Conduits, Infamous Second Son. Infamous Second Son is a 2014 action-adventure game in which you play as Delsin, a young graffiti artist who discovers he possesses the power to absorb the abilities of other superpowered humans called Conduits. As you can imagine, a large part of the game's story and gameplay is centered around his power-stealing talents. Throughout the game, you come across 4 other Conduits that you can take powers from, unlocking new elements to utilize in combat, and also giving you new traversal mechanics around the city. All of the powers are themed after the urban environment of Seattle, giving you the ability to control smoke, electronic equipment, neon lights, and finally, concrete. Each power brings new mechanics to the table and feels quite rewarding to use, especially right after taking them from their original users. Towards the end of the game, once you've finally collected all of your Conduit abilities, you feel like a bona fide Captain Seattle, blending all parts of the grungy Rain City in order to protect it from evil or unleash your own brand of it on its unsuspecting population.